So these really shiny boots, they're brand new. And sadly, we need to make them look not brand new. But, you know, it's better to have a good pair of shoes that are solid for a performer to be dancing and doing movement and climbing upstairs and so forth in. So we got brand new boots. They're leather, and we are going to break them down and distress them and make them look kind of muddy. So I'm going to start by taking the shine off with, like, I think this is an 80 grit. Obviously it's for like a rotary sander, but that's okay. I put it on my block. And I'm just going to generally take the shine off of the boots. I'm also going to go in with a rasp. All right, this is a rasp. Takes more matter off than, for instance, a file, like just a regular metal file. So I do have a file. I don't have it with me at the moment. Somebody else is using it. So just gonna be very careful with this. If you do use a rasp, it can cut you. I mean, you can also hurt yourself with, you can abrade yourself with sandpaper quite easily if you're not careful too. But this will actually like take a chunk of your skin out. So do be very careful when you're using it. A rasp only works in one direction. There are a bunch of tools like that. It only works so if I go like that, you can actually hear the difference. There's nothing, and there you can hear that it's like mucking up the matter and stuff like that in the surface of the shoe. So I'm going to focus on the toe and in the crease, you know, where it bends typically. Try to get some nice distressing in there. I'm also going to go in with some paint and stuff to try to get it to look a little more distressed. I'll put some like highlights and white on it so I don't really have to dig out all of the leather. The point of distressing is always to make it look like it's worn or falling apart, especially for theater. They need to wear these multiple times for performances all the way through the technical process of rehearsals and dress rehearsals. So the stuff can't actually fall apart. It just needs to look like it's falling apart. So it's important to remember when you're distressing something that still needs to be wearable and still needs to be safe for the person. You know, if you're doing this for your Halloween costume, you might only need to wear it one night, but you still need to be safe when you're wearing it. You don't want it actually falling apart. You don't want your shoe falling apart when you're going to a party. So keep that in mind when you're distressing. All right, so hopefully you can hear me. I've got the overhead vent going on because I'm using some regular dye. But I've got my paint and my acrylic. I'm gonna make these shoes look muddy now. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So the one thing you want to remember when you're doing distressing for theater is that when you're working on something, it's going to look real messy and maybe even almost too messy or too stained or too dark. You always start pretty subtle and then I go up from that. But when you're working from theater, remember that the audience is typically like, we're in a black box situation, so it might be like 5 to 10 feet away, maybe up to 25 to 50, depending on where they are on stage. Also, there's a lighting aspect. Sometimes the lighting's very bright and it washes stuff out. Sometimes it's very dark and you cannot see anything. So when you are distressing, keep that in mind. When you're distressing, you know, just distressing your regular stuff, then yeah, just do it up to the point where if you saw somebody walking down the street and you're like, oh, they fell in a puddle of mud, you know, you kind of would have an idea of what that looked like. But for theater, we always go a little more extreme just because once you get it on stage, there have been times where I've made things look absolutely disgusting and you can barely see it in the lighting, 25, 30, 50, if it's on a proscenium stage and you're real far away, you just can't see it, so you really have to make make it count, make the